Good evening. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Today is Monday, November 13th, 2023, and we are here for our evening 6:30 p.m. land use hearing for the Board of Larimer County Commissioners. We are have a discussion item today. I will go ahead and call this meeting to order, and I will start by starting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I ask you to please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for joining us with the Pledge of Allegiance, and thank you all for being here today. I am Larimer County Commissioner Jody Shad-McNally, Chair of the Board of County Commissioners, and I appreciate everyone and the staff being here this evening for this hearing. I'm joined at the dais with my colleagues, Larimer County Commissioner Kristen Stevens and Larimer County Commissioner John Kafalis. Also joining us up behind us and joining us today is the Clerk to the Board, Tessa Beatty. Thank you, Tessa, for being here all evening. And behind me is our Assistant County Attorney, Frank Haug, who helps us specializes and supports us with land use issues. Also, we have Jenny Axmaker, who is here today as a development manager, but also is helping cover for our community development director. So thank you. I'll get to you in a moment so you can explain the process. But we have Leah Schneider from our health department. We have Mr. Pringle from engineering, correct? Great. And then we have Ms. Lasher from planning. Thank you, Samantha, for all your work. And with Mr. Christensen, also from planning, correct? Yeah. Great. And we also have Ms. Brodal. Oh, we got it correct. Great. Who is also here and all the staff to support these applications. So, Jenny, I'm going to turn it over to you for a few moments to explain the process of how people can participate.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. We respectfully request that all members of the audience silence their electronic devices. Please help yourself to a copy of the agenda and the hearing procedure instructions, which are located on the wall, right over here by the entrance, as well as posted online. Please note, we may be using a sign-up sheet for public comment. Otherwise, if you are when public comment is opened, you can make your way to the front of the room. Please wait to speak until you're recognized by the chair. Please maintain civility, refraining from audience applause, comments, or disruptions, whether positive or negative. Please make all comments to the Board of County Commissioners from the podium. A portable mic is available if needed. Please state your name at the beginning of your comments and provide the spelling of your name if it's unique. Please speak directly into the microphone so that remote participants may hear. Upon request, assisted listening devices are available for the hearing impaired. And for those of you joining us on Zoom, attendees will be muted until they are recognized by the chair. If an online attendee wishes to speak or request a consent item be removed, please use the raise hand function on the Zoom control bar or press *9 on the phone. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny, for those instructions. And I appreciate your support for this meeting today. We do not have any consent items today, so I won't go into the consent agenda. We have 3 discussion items. We have the Wright short-term rental administrative special review, file number 23-ZONE3462. We also have the Franklin short-term administrative special review, file number 21. ZONE 3162, and we have a Franklin second short-term rental, a second administrative special review, file number 21-ZONE 3163. But we will start with the first one, which will be the Wright short-term rental administrative special review, file number 23-ZONE 3462, and I believe that is Mr. Christensen will be leading that discussion. So please proceed, sir. Thank you.
Yes, good evening, Chair. Through you, my name is Mark Christensen, and I am with the Planning Department. The item before you is the Wright short-term rental, and it is case number 23-Zone-3462. The subject property is located at 311 Hemlock Drive in Lyons, Colorado. It is located southwest of Highway 36 in the Big Elk Meadows subdivision. The request is for an administrative special review approval for a small short-term rental in the existing 2-bedroom single-family residence with 1 additional sleeping area for a maximum occupancy of 6 guests with 2 guests per bedroom/sleeping area. The property owner is Eric Wright and Corbin Larson, and the property manager is Eric Jacobson, who is located at 3485 17th Street in Boulder, Colorado, approximately 48 minutes away. The current zone district is open, and the lot size is 0.49 acres, so just under half an acre. The utilities are Big Elk Water Association with on-site septic. There is the Volunteer Fire Department of Big Elk, and the property receives its access off of Hemlock Drive. Per the Larimer County Land Use Code, a short-term rental is defined as a dwelling rented to transient guests for short-term lodging when not occupied by the owner and renter. It is classified as commercial lodging facilities use and is permitted in the O open zone district following an administrative special review. The applicant is subject to the pre-June 1st STR regulations. 144 postcards were mailed to the neighbors within the Big Elk Meadows subdivision. We received 11 written comments, 8 in opposition, and 3 in support. The community member comments are included in the packet in attachments E. In general, for a proposed administrative special review application, the director has the ability to consider the following review criteria, in addition to the specific review criteria as well. The criteria are listed here. And then the use-specific standards for short-term rentals are located here. The administrative special review process authorizes the director to approve applications if they meet the review criteria and there are no substantive issues. If the director determines the application is unusually complex or raises potentially unique or serious impacts to the county or surrounding areas, the director has the ability to refer the application to the county commissioners for a decision pursuant to the same review criteria. The proposed administrative special review for the right STR meets the criteria in section 3.35B2 and meets 3 of the 5 criteria in section 6.4.3D. Staff does not have conclusive determination on if criteria 1 or 2 are met. The Development Services team is not making a specific recommendation on the right short-term rental, file number 23-zone 3462, and has presented all the information which the Board of County Commissioners may base their deliberation and decision upon. We have 2 suggested motions here, with a motion to deny or a motion to approve, subject to the following conditions. One component I did want to highlight for you all was the short-term rental map. As you can see, there is currently 1 short-term rental showed in this map. However, this map does not include the 2 short-term rentals that were approved on September 25th. And with that, I am available for any questions.
So I just want a clarifying question, because so this does not include the other 2, so there is a total of 3 in that neighborhood.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Kafalis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. Regarding the follow-up to the question that Commissioner Shattuck McNally asked, the 2 that are not on the map, where are they located? Certainly in proximity to the proposed STR that we're discussing tonight.
Yes. So one of the STRs is located within this radius shown here. This is the 500-foot radius after the June 1st regulations. Again, this was applied prior to June 1st, and it is located approximately right here. And then the other is located off Aspen Drive and is located in farther north in the subdivision.
Thank you, Mark.
If you can see my cursor, those are approximate locations.
Thank you.
Commissioner Stevens, any questions at this point? Okay, I think I'll hold the rest of my questions until after the applicant's presentation. So I'll go ahead and ask the applicants to please come forward to the podium and identify yourself. You'll have 10 minutes to present. We hold that standard for all of anybody who's coming for us in front of a land use hearing, and then after public comment, you would get 5 minutes for rebuttal. So usually this time for presenting your application. And if we have questions, just if you'll stay at the podium, we might have questions afterwards. And welcome, and please identify yourself and proceed. Thank you.
Hello, Commissioners. Thank you for having us here today to talk about our application for the short-term rental. My name is Eric Wright. I am one of the owners, and my cousin Corbin Larson is here as well. Together with our families, we own this property. and purchased it just over a year ago. So we're on our 1 year anniversary here. And Mark, if you could go forward just one slide. I think it's appropriate to tell you a little bit of the backstory and the intent behind this property. This is actually fulfilling a lifelong dream of ours, being able to raise our kids, having the experience up in the mountains, close to water, having neat, fun, lifelong memories. And over this last year, I can say it has accomplished that for us. I remember a year and a half ago taking Corbin up there and showing him that I really thought this was quite a unique and special place. And we had the conversation of being able to afford this together. And the conversation had one stipulation. I said, the only reason I would ever want to do this is if we treat this as a cabin for our families first. And so I think it's important to note that that is the intent. This is a cabin for our families first. I go every single month, and Corbin and his family go every single month. And so it will be an opportunity, if approved, to supplement on the 1 or 2 other weekends that were not present. So I think that was appropriate to mention, Mark, if you would. Additionally, we do not consider ourselves investors, someone that is living abroad and trying to just make money off of our short-term rental. That is not the intent for us. I live in Castle Rock, and Corbin actually also lives in Castle Rock, just further away. But we are absolutely active and contributing members of the community. As you can see, I've listed a few of the ways that we've contributed over the last year. We attend pretty much every board meeting and are actively participating and commenting and providing suggestions in that atmosphere. We have participated in some fire mitigation for the community and service work. So we have done that over the course of the year. Since you last heard the 2 applications in Big Elk Meadows that happened on September 20-something, 25th, a short-term rental committee has formed. We are also on that committee, and it's made up of a modge podge of people, if you will, throughout the community, whoever raised their hand, and we are actively working to continue to develop and put forth a plan that we all agree on. And so I'm happy to report that, because that's kind of come as a result of the last 2 applications, but also something that I'm proud to say that we're a part of, and we're contributing to help build out the future for Big Elk Meadows. We've attended some holiday celebrations and service opportunities, I think I mentioned. So just trying to drive home the point that we are active, and we are continuing to do that and have every intent to do that, because it's like our special place, right? This is our special place to take our kids. I have 4 kids, and Corbin has 3, and so that's the intent. So anywho, we can move on from here. I know that it states that there's maybe inconclusive evidence around criteria 1 and criteria 2, and so I have a little bit of a conversation for each of these areas. I agree that it is unique and that it's very special, and I am very particular, and Corbin is very particular, and if you walked into our house there right now, you would find it spotless and in very good condition, and we have every desire to keep it sacred for everyone. It is our escape from our busy lives and all of our kids and all the chaos that comes with that. And we believe that serves ourselves and the community well with how detail oriented we are. And in particular, I think a lot of this comes down to the way that we will actively screen for those that may come and choose to rent from us. There is an active short-term rental, as referenced earlier, and in 3 years of its activity, there have not been any complaints to the county or to the board, and I have teamed up with this individual to make sure I am replicating the vernacular and the screening process that they are using to make sure that they're getting the proper type of guests. I think it starts there, and then early and often communication. These guests have a rating system that they use within rental sites that they are held against. So I am able to rate them as guests. And so they have the desire to get a good rating as well. Otherwise, they will not be able to rent in the future. So I think that helps to buoy up the area and its character. And I can speak in more detail here on the next slide for criteria 2, which I think plays into that. As I interpret this, it's kind of an aggregate of the comments that were made against the short-term rental. And I guess I'll just talk to them individually and kind of close with a thought. But noise and rule enforcement, I've also teamed up with the other recently approved short-term rentals and their owners, and we've been in very close contact, and we are planning together. This is a unit of people that are trying to think of everything to protect the community. And so it's, I think, unique in that regard. So some of the things you're going to hear are similar. I've located a device that we're going to install here shortly that not only gives me a mobile alert to our phones for decibel, like being too loud outside, but it also includes smoke detecting. And so that will also help to mitigate the opportunity for fires. And we've done extensive fire mitigation on the property, and that has been included, I believe, in part of the packet. So as far as traffic, I'll just briefly touch on this. Same thing as one of the others. We thought that it was a great idea to include additional speed limit signs and to include those on our actual property so that it's a reminder coming onto the property and leaving the property to stay close to what that speed is or under. We've extensively listed out all of the addresses, phone numbers for emergency and non-emergency contacts. I think we've covered our bases really well there. And in terms of the fishing and the lake health, this is, I mean, the area is very unique and fantastic, but this is part of the dream, right? Like to have a mountain cabin on water, and it's something that's near and dear to me. So we definitely have a rule set that will be in our guidebook, I guess I could call it, to make sure to specify catch and release only. And again, you have the ability inside of these rental sites to make the renter sign off on house rules. And so that is our intent to, of course, I'm not to that step, so I have not created this listing, but that will be a part of our listing process, and will also stipulate steep fines if not agreed upon. And of course, we will not rent it unless that is signed. So we will communicate all of these rules, and on the next page, these additional rules. Parking, we have plenty of parking in our driveway. You could adequately probably fit 6 cars. We've never in our year ever had more than 2. So due to the size of the rental, I don't think that will be an issue. Trash, we also have a very specific plan on how to handle trash due to the wildlife and how to manage that trash over the course of your stay by providing a bin in our back room that you can take your garbage bags to and place in the bin. And then at the end of your trip or during the day, you can take up to our trash compactor that is on site and with very clear directions on how to get there. And then just general etiquette for the community has been included and for the wildlife. And I just wanted to get to my last slide here. I know I have about 60 seconds. So some of the things that I've done that I feel like have been very impactful is I reached out individually and personally to every single person that made a negative comment. I've made an attempt to establish that relationship, and I've had more than several actually conversations as a result of that. And they were really positive. Like, I think that there's a fear of short-term rentals in general in the community because it's new. I mean, there's one, right? And that's recent. And so I can sympathize with that. And I've had some very productive conversations around my efforts and what we're going to do and how this is our second home, right? I mean, this is not something that I'm just throwing out on the wayside for whoever wants to take it. And so I think we've taken very specific efforts to get what we need to do. We have a backup property manager in case that's needed. And I do think we have the added unique benefit of 2 families owning, just because we can be very detail oriented and pick up the slack when maybe someone else is less available.
Thank Your time is up, so thank you for your presentation. Appreciate it. So I'll see now if my colleagues have any questions. Commissioner Stevens?
Sure. So you said you reached out to everyone who had a negative comment. What did those conversations, how did those conversations go, and what was there any consensus reached, or do you feel like the neighbors'
Yeah.
concerns were mitigated? How did that?
Yeah, I mean, I wish we had time to like show you the emails and to recall some of the conversations because some of them I actually initiated everything over email. I felt like that was a very easy way to ease into making that relationship. Every one of those ended and started with like, hey, we're neighbors. Like, we have the same desires. There were a couple conversations where some concerns were brought up, and I just talked through, like I intend to today, any of those concerns. I can't speak for them, but I feel like we both left that conversation as friends and neighbors. I do not think there was 1 ounce of contention. We don't have to agree on everything, certainly not. But I do think that there's just this overall fear of the unknown. And so we would like the opportunity to be able to try this out in our community. And I think that they were very positive from my point of view.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kafalis?
Actually, I don't have any questions at this time.
Thank you.
Okay, I do. So I don't, I appreciate there's new committee and stuff that you guys are forming, and that's great that you guys have this, but it seems like it's really been kind of a lot of the new short-term rentals, the new people in the committee. So are there other people who do not own short-term rentals on this committee?
Correct.
Because, I'm born and raised in the area, kind of know of this whole neighborhood and kind of the historic nature of it, and knowing how it was not even accessible for a long time after the flood. And
Right.
so a lot of you that are moving in have not been around for emergencies and floods and fires. So I just want to kind of stress that. And so I have some concerns about that. So you're stating that there are some folks from that that are on the committee that are not short-term rental owners,
Correct. Yes.
or soon to be short-term rental owners, I guess, because it seems like a lot of these homes were sold, and a lot of them have come in and are looking to turn them into short-term rentals. So, and I do think, you might say a fear of the unknown, but we do have a lot of evidence in other mountain communities where a density of short-term rentals has been a detriment to the community.
I understand.
And so, and I know a lot of folks would love to have a second home and have, opportunities, but it also changes the quality of life for those folks in that community as well. So I just want to kind of state that because I think it's more than just a fear of the unknown. There is
Sure.
some proven things. So, so I wanted to know, you said you have plenty of parking, and I was trying to remember because there's some criteria that say there's only allowed 2 cars per thing, or is this one where we allow? He says he has a long driveway, so is there going to be more than 2 cars? Is that, just curious about that? Because I know some of these, they say no more than 2 parking. What's the? But I didn't see this. I was looking at the criteria or the conditions.
Yeah, so the land use code requires 2 parking spots as a minimum. There's not a maximum.
Okay. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. My next question for you is, if you're saying you're looking to rent it only half the month, it sounds like, is this going to be year-round? And what is knowing how the roads can be and the lack of cell service, what is your plan for helping folks who do not come from Colorado to be able to drive up that road that we as a county helped fix and put back together?
And it is amazing now, especially with the extended cell phone service, which happened over the course of this last year. So we really have about 9 to 11 minutes of no cell phone from the highway to my doorstep where it is active again. And in my opinion, a lot of the questions fall under probably a similar answer from me, which would be communication early and often. I mean, I have my guidebook put together. I'm going to double it in what I actually want to include versus I made this back in April. This is when I submitted it, was in April. I've now learned a lot over the last 7 months of what would be ideal to include. And so I think that, again, referring back to the listing, basically being more descriptive of, well, I haven't done it yet, but being descriptive of kind of what the scenario is, where the cell phone service ends, how to connect to the cell phone service again, kind of laying out a full experience, not only as a resource digitally that can be accessed at any time through our listing, which we have the availability to do, but also on the physical copy that will be in the home.
And so, talking about that, I know you have kind of the standard bare minimum of living with wildlife. But there is a lot of it's a big wildlife corridor up there.
There is.
So are you going to, for me, this is great. You've got the bear alert and stuff, but are you looking into maybe going a little above and beyond, because this is a neighborhood which you're more than likely to encounter wildlife, lots of wildlife.
Sure. Yeah, I think that being specific on the garbage is really important. I was counting with my kids just the other day how many species of animals we've seen up there, which is like so amazing, right? But yes, short answer, being specific on the trash, I think, is number one. That's going to be the biggest thing. We do a lot of our own mitigation of like pests and stuff like that. So that will be communicated. That cannot be accessed. It's all in crawl space and stuff like that, so that that's taken care of for potential guests. And I think we included the county's suggestions. That was the actual content from the county. But if we feel like, or you feel like there are holes in what's been provided, we are absolutely happy to include that in our communication.
Like I said, I think this is like the bare minimum, but I think certain areas of the county, that's something we can always talk about down the road and look at these, but there's certain neighborhoods that probably need a little extra, especially when you get that remote and stuff. So my other question is, when you talk about wildfire mitigation work, as you do for the community, are you doing that around your property, or what kind of mitigation work are you doing as a community up there?
Yeah, so they have dedicated like Firewise sessions where individuals can come and help to secure safe borders and safe landscapes. And actually, Corbin attended the most recent one, and it was only him and one other individual, and they just went to town and were chipping wood for hours. And so, yes, we spent approximately 12 hours of fire mitigation between the two of us on our own property, but we've also spent time helping the community to help with that effort.
Great.
And we've also, by the way, we've had the discussion that we should, because we've so recently done that, and because there are very distinct guidelines around Firewise that we've done for the county, it's fresh for us. So we've talked about the idea of actually offering that up. I know there's a lot of folks that maybe can't do some of that stuff themselves. And referring back to my other your question, Commissioner Stevens, the end of those conversations was very much like, hey, because I have a pickup truck. I'm happy to come over and help you move this or do that. And I actually had a couple of people like, actually, I could use some. Great, no problem.
Cool. What are some of the concerns that we heard in the past? And the concerns are about the density, having a lot of these come, and there seems like there's a lot of applications that are coming through this neighborhood. It must have been a lot of great real estate sales up there or something. But the concern was about the water, because the water situation is unique. And we have this in a couple other neighborhoods throughout the county where, the water is kind of trekked up there. And so what kind of, I don't know if I remember reading that in your
Sure.
manual about what kind of water, do you have concerns about the water usage and kind of the drain on, the water issues as a whole? Because I know that was a big concern with the previous application.
Mm-hmm. In terms of density, there is one actively operating short-term rental of 160 homes. As I understand it, we are number 4, in addition to the other 2 that are approved. And as I also understand it, you can all correct me, but I don't believe that there's any other additional pending applications. And to your point, yes, Commissioner, there was a plethora of properties that became available last summer. It was the height of the market, and people were taking that opportunity to move on. And so, as I mentioned earlier, this was something that I had, we decided to partner on. I mean, I would have loved to kick Corbin out if I could, but we paid a lot of money. So, in terms of water, I'll say this, and I hope that it's interpreted as I mean it, which is it's a small home. It's 1,000 square feet. There is no active water on the outside of the home, so we're not watering plants. We're not using that water in any other way than to wash your hands, to do the dishes, and to take a shower. There's no bathtub. It's just a shower. That's it. And so we just had a water heater replaced up there. I think it's 40 gallons. I mean, I just can't see a world where us being there each once per month, taking 2 to 3 showers per family, would outweigh anyone that is living there full time. I just don't see where that happens. And in fact, I received a call from our I don't want to say property manager, but like the Big Elk Meadows manager of the facilities. Corbin and I did a few months back, and he had alerted us that our home had used 10,000 gallons of water overnight. We weren't there. Our water heater had burst. And to no one's, I mean, it was 20 years old, right? And we got it replaced. We came up with, in a fuel fury on the spot with all the equipment because we were under the impression it was a full flood. And I draw this parallel because heaven forbid that happens, but there was no talks or like slaps on the wrist or, I mean, stuff happens, but I just cannot see a world where even a couple renters in a month is going to even come close to that. One bill we got for that was more than our full year's worth of water usage. So that's just my opinion on the matter.
Great, thank you. And maybe this has been corrected, and I don't see it, but I was reading through the wildfire home ignition zone inspection, and there were still a couple of pass pending because as of September, beginning of September, there were still some corrections that Raina has. I think it was on the mitigation filing inspection approval, follow directions on photos. I see there, said it was still waiting for inspection. There was another one on the short-term rentals, lock, block, alter, remove solid, burning fire pits, appliances, and it says still pass pending, waiting for emails before and after. So is that, has that been taken care of?
Just to clarify, are you referring to the fire mitigation section? Was that?
Yeah, from our Raina, from our
Yeah, so I
emergency
emailed
service.
Mark to make sure that was very clear because of the formatting. It only shows the infractions, but it doesn't show the 6 pages of papers of all the work done post that 12 hours that we put in. Everything, and Mark can confirm, everything has been passed with flying colors. We got everything in line, in order.
Yes, Chair, I can confirm that.
Okay, great. I just want, because that's all we have in our packet.
Sure,
so.
no problem.
And I think.
And I noticed that. That's why I brought it up, because I was
Well, I know
concerned
it,
about that.
and I know that like a week later it says we have a letter. It said final passing. Here's the link, and all we have is this the one page. It says
Yeah,
that there's
I agree.
a
That's,
final passing. But I just wanted to ask.
it's a little strange, yeah.
Yeah,
I get
so
it.
it's like a week later, but no further action. And I just wanted to make sure because there was a lot of trees and things that needed to be moved. So I just
There was a lot. You're right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there was
It was like
there was
8
a lot of
truckloads,
there was
so.
a lot of work to do. So it sounds like you guys were busy. Okay, I think that's all I have at this time. I appreciate you answering all my questions. So, Commissioner Gonzalez, I see your hands raised.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric. We just received the memo from the Larimer County Health and Environment Department.
Okay.
And I'm assuming you saw that. I'm wondering if you could comment on, there are a number of different things that they point out. For example, one is a reference to a hot tub spa.
Okay.
And the proper storage of chemicals to make sure the water's clean. But I wonder if you're aware of that memo, and they do talk about water, wastewater disposal, emergency contact information, egress maps, etc. If you could comment on that, and I may defer to staff later I don't see all of those things having been, they're not a condition of approval to make sure that the operator's manual is updated and things like that. So that's what I'm bringing to your attention, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner. That document, Mark can keep me correct here too. That came across as I was leaving Castle, maybe an hour before I left Castle Rock. I had to leave work early to even come up here and make it in time. So I'm not aware of the things that are listed, but I'm happy to talk to them. In terms of the hot tub, yes, there is a small hot tub that is a 4-person hot tub. It's half the size of the hot tub that I own at my own home. The water is changed, I would say, about once every 6 to 12 months. And we have, I laugh, because I'm a weird hot tub guy and I own my own hot tub and I know what it takes to do it successfully. Corbin did not know that, so he has extensive text messages from me of how he should be properly using the hot tub that we both own together. So to your point, Commissioner, I will be very clear in our instructions on how to do that and keep that in a safe and separate location.
Thank you, Eric. And I won't ask what you mean by a weird hot tub guy. But with that
I like
in
hot
mind,
tubs. Who doesn't like a hot tub?
At the appropriate time, I would like to follow up with staff to get more clarification on what's in this memo and whether or not we should make sure that whatever changes need to occur do occur.
And we have included egress maps, some of the latter things that you mentioned. So.
So I think unless there's other questions that we'll go ahead and have applicants sit down. We'll open this for public comment, and then after public comment, you would have 5 minutes for rebuttal, and we might have more questions then. So
Is that 5 minutes per comment or 5 minutes at the end?
5 minutes total for all the comments. So for all the rebuttals. So we may not have any public comment. We'll see. So we'll go ahead and have you take a seat, and we'll open this for public comment. Thank you. Okay, so first I'll start with anybody in the room, and I will ask if there's anybody in the room that'd like to raise their hand and raise their hand for public comment. Okay, so Jenny, if we can go online and see if there's anyone who is online who would like to make public comment on this land use application.
We do have 2 hands raised. The first hand raised was Tori DeVore, and I will unmute them and allow them to talk. We have another hand raised after that.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. DeVore. This is Limerick County Commissioner Jody Shai-McNally, Chair of the Board of County Commissioners. We thank you for joining us today. You have indicated you'd like to give public comment. If you would please identify yourself, where you're from, you'd have 3 minutes for that public comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I wish I could be there in person. I was the person who came in to make comments at the hearings at the previous 2 STR hearings. My name is Tori DeVore. I live at 175 Hickory Drive, and I am not in favor of STRs. And just like with the other 2 applicants that I spoke for, it doesn't have anything to do with them personally. I don't think I've met Eric. Corbin worked with my husband. He's the Firewise captain up in Big Elk. And it's more to do with bringing strangers and people unfamiliar with our mountain communities into our community. We have a small office, but it doesn't have a person in there all the time, so there aren't people there to help. The roads can be treacherous in the wintertime. We put studded snow tires on our car to get up there because it can ice over at a moment's notice. And the problem is between the gate, after the gate, and as you come back down the hill, it can get very slick, as you guys know, in the mountain communities, and people can get into trouble very easily. And as we said, there's no cell service until you get to a Wi-Fi connection and have to put in the password and everything else. So we're all very concerned about the density. This particular unit is, I walked 75 steps and I got to the other unit that was approved last time at 261. So it's less than 200 feet away. And I know that the 500-foot rule doesn't take place until June 1st, applications after June 1st. But I would hope that you would be able to take that into consideration here. It's a little bit dense on that side, in that area of the community. One other comment I wanted to make about the STR committee is I'm on that committee, but it is stacked with people who are pro STRs. And I brought this up with the committee head and I was not listened to. So I'm not terribly happy about that. We do not represent the community on that committee very well. Although the committee members do seem open to discussing things, I don't feel that we're properly representing the community. This will be the 4th STR, so I feel that we're getting pretty dense in a very small community that is not necessarily well equipped to help people who are not familiar with our surroundings. Despite the best intentions of all of our STR owners, in trying to make sure that they check people aren't going to be having parties and things like that. So, thank you.
Thank you for your public comment and joining us today. Okay, so now we have another person.
Next, we have David Alvarado.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Alvarado, for joining us for public comment. You have indicated you'd like to give public comment. This is Larimer County Commissioner Jody Shai-McNally, Chair of the Board. If you could please unmute yourself and identify yourself where you're from. You'd have 3 minutes for your public comment. Thank you.
Hi, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, great. My name is David Alvarado. I own a place there in Big Oak Meadows as well, just a couple doors down from Eric. And I guess what I wanted to say is first of all, I support his application for a short-term rental, and one of the things that I've been most impressed about with Eric is the way he communicates with his neighbors, and is being upright and being through public means, through our Facebook site. He's posted and made himself very available about concerns and people that have concerns, and he's communicated with me as well. Listed his phone number publicly, and I appreciate that openness during this process. I also very much appreciate that he is going to be an owner operator, and in the context too that there's going to be two separate families that have a stake in this property, and the overall well-being of it. So there's multiple people observing, reacting, adjusting to the different experiences, and I think that's a good perspective. He's also communicated with me to share my ideas with him, and my feedback, if I ever have any. If there are any things that I might suggest, he's open to listen and react to those. He seems to be a very community-oriented person. It's great seeing him and his family in the area. It's nice seeing young kids, and in a opportunity for a family to begin their lifelong goal of being in an outdoor vacation home, which I think most people in this community a lot of them have started in this neighborhood from a previous generation and have moved into that. The other thing I'd like to point out is that Big Oak Meadows does receive revenue from these rentals, and that's a shot in the arm that is very needed in our community. We don't really have a source of revenue other than our HOA.
Thank you, Mr. Alvarado, for your public comment. Okay, do we have anyone else? I see a couple more hands raised.
Yes, next is Corey Jacobson. Corey, we will unmute you and you may begin your testimony.
Hello, Mr. Jacobson. This is Larimer County Commissioner Jody Shai-McNally. I'm Chair of the Board of County Commissioners. You've indicated you'd like to give public comment. If you could please identify yourself, where you're from, you'd have 3 minutes. Thank you. Mr. Jacobson, can you hear us?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes. Is this Mr. Jacobson?
Oh, it is. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Hey, I just thought I'd jump out and say, I fully support Eric in their pursuits here for Big Elk Meadows, and as far as using it for themselves for half the month and using it as a short-term rental for half the month. This is Corey Jacobson. I'm from Aspen Drive. I was one of the people that was approved for a short-term rental like 2-3 weeks ago or so. And actually, maybe a little bit longer than that. But just wanted to go ahead and put my support behind Eric and his family doing the same thing on their end. I've worked with Eric on the short-term rental committee. As Tori said, there is a bunch of short-term rental people that are on that committee. And Tori and the department head or whatever committee head are the two that represent the non-short-term rental part or people part as part of it. We're all working together, trying to make the best of the situation, and I think we're all doing the right thing. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobson, for speaking up for your public comment. Okay, do we have anyone else? Jenny?
We don't have any hands raised, and just a reminder for those joining us on Zoom, if you'd like to speak, please use the raise hand function. We have no hands.
Okay, I'll just make one more attempt for anybody in the room. Not that I see any. Okay, we'll close public comment. Okay, so the applicant would have 5 minutes for rebuttal if you'd like to. If you want to come up to the podium, you'd have 5 minutes for rebuttal.
Thank you for all comments online. And Tori, I will address you first. Nice to meet you. I wish it was under different circumstances, but appreciate your comments. And as I had offered in my email to you, I consider myself a neighbor and a friend and a community member above all else. And although we may not agree on everything, that's my stance. To maybe touch on a couple of the things that you mentioned, I was under the impression in terms of actual numbers that it was 50-50 on the community in terms of, on the committee, but it may be outweighed by one. So I don't have the official response because I'm getting conflicting information as I was sitting there, but I don't think it's a gross underrepresentation for any one side. And to Corey's point, we're trying to make this situation into a positive experience and move forward as one in the community. As far as like the density, again, I don't think any of us knew. Actually, I know that none of us knew in that little strip of area. There was when all the homes were for sale, and it just is, I think, happenstance that's kind of what happened for myself and a few doors down. We didn't know that we've been in queue for 7 months until even just a few months ago. That was just kind of the way where the homes were for sale, and 2 people moved in that wanted to apply for a short-term rental. And in terms of like the roads, absolutely, that's part of the communication and the renters, again, I'll lay back onto my learning over the last 7 months and the importance of over communicating. I might have the world's longest listing, I don't know, but I'm going to include in there exactly what it looks like coming up off of 25 onto 36, what to expect with the roads, how the roads are cleared, what to expect in terms of cell phone service and the dirt road up at the top. Like that will all be over communicated. 4-wheel drive recommended. These are all things that are great points, Tori, and I can't directly have an impact on with my own actions, but I can communicate, and I will do that. And again, Tori, I'll extend the offer. Please reach out. I'm a neighbor and a friend. I'm here to discuss openly and to help act on any of the concerns that you have. And then, David, I'd like to just thank you for the comments that you made. It's been great getting to know you more and more, and we're in contact often. And I would just draw one quick point is that I don't know if it's been done before, but I put my cell phone number on the Facebook page and just said, hey, like I know people have concerns, call me. Like I'm calling everyone on my own, but if you also want to call, I'm here. So we're directly in the face addressing people in the most stand-up, responsible, ethical way that we know how. And for that purpose, I think that I would ask that you would consider approval of our application. In terms of another point that was made that I wish I had made earlier, but I'll touch on now, is we are actually also directly providing revenue because we have a fee plus a nightly fee that we pay Big Elk Meadows for any rental and that can directly go towards infrastructure and any of the other concerns that have been brought up forth here. That is the revenue that we are generating for the community as well. And Corey, I appreciate your comments. Likewise, being able to get to know you over the last few months. And I think that there's great value that the rentals have banded together to help each other. I just don't know that that is frequent. I don't know, maybe it is, but being able to bounce ideas off each other on how to better our properties and how to better mitigate risk is our overall objective. There's no pulling the wool over. It's just like, how do we address all these concerns in the best, most responsible way? And I've appreciated getting to know these individuals. And so in that regard, thank you for the public comments. And I don't think I have anything else.
Thank you for your rebuttal. So we will now see if there's any further questions from my colleagues for staff or for this applicant. Commissioner?
I don't have any questions for the applicant. I would like to discuss the health department memo a little bit.
So why don't you go ahead and take a seat, and then but just to warn you, we might call you back up. So thank you. So go ahead, Commissioner.
Well, I wonder if someone from the public health department could just highlight some of the key points and whether or not where further action is needed, whether that should be included as a condition of approval.
Yeah, Commissioner Kafalis, I can start out and then hand it over to Leah Schneider. And so I apologize. The notes were omitted from the original staff report. That was my fault, so I apologize for omitting those at first. But we did include these. The applicant has seen them now. So we reached out to the Big Elk Meadows Water Association. We have not received a comment just yet. Sometimes we do send out those referral comments and do not receive a response. That has happened on applications prior to this one. And then the other comments from the health department were just kind of more for your information comments, kind of best practices, those sorts of things. If the health department so chooses, it may be appropriate to include those in the operations manual as a FYI and a condition of approval. However, I did see those just as for your information comments, but I'll let the health department specify.
Thank you, Mark. That's very helpful. And I would offer that, the reference to best practices regarding, to extend the longevity of the septic system. I would think that should be included in the operator's manual. There was some after-hours non-emergency contact information and the address of the hospital up in Estes. Those are the kinds of things that I think primarily should go in the owner's manual, the operator's manual, excuse me. And then there's the reference to the hot tub spa and the proper storage of chemicals. So I would say that, we should reference that these things need to be done. I guess it's updating the operator's manual primarily.
And I will add, we did include Eric in the email in September. So he has a copy. These are just our health department comments that we made back in September. So you guys have a copy. We sent you an email from Ashton Brodel, actually. But there are recommendations for changes in the operational manual to make sure you do have those addresses and things. And then planning will go through and double check before they issue the permit to make sure that those get in the operations manual.
Thank you, Leah. And do you think it should be listed as a condition of approval, or trusting that you all will make that happen?
I think it's acceptable to list it as a condition of approval because we can just go, we have received an updated operations manual, and then I can just work with Eric to make sure that we have those all checked off.
Thank you.
So I'll build off of that. So the back to the owner's manual, he said I got off the website for the wildlife. So is that the 2 pages, the general section of the CPW? Is that what's in there? Is just the general pages? The standard?
Yes, Chair, through you, that is the standard that's in there right now.
Does the applicant or does the staff know, does Big Up Meadows have wildlife rules for their association, and do they have a little bit more rigorous suggestions or comments to make, like bear safety, bear aware, and things like that? I'm just curious if they know.
Chair, I would defer that to the applicant. I'm not certain on the rules of the association.
So I don't know. Does the applicant know if your Big Elk Meadows has some association rules for wildlife? And
Commissioner, we were provided a welcoming packet, and I'll just state that when we applied 7 months ago, we didn't, we followed the rules, but we didn't realize until now what is included. But for the wildlife specifically, we have a 50-something page governing document. I do not recall from memory if that is included in there, but it would be easy enough for us to include that. And we have Commissioner Kafalis, we have already updated all of those items that you see as were missing. Those had been updated prior in the week for our operations manual.
okay, that's helpful. Thank you. Commissioner Stevens, did you have any questions? Okay. Commissioner Kafalis, any other questions? Okay. So are we ready for deliberation? Okay, I'll start with Commissioner Stevens.
Yeah, so thank you to the applicants for coming out. I've been thinking over this pretty carefully. We did get a lot of people that had sent emails that were opposed to this. I actually think you've mitigated for all the impacts associated with some of the environment and some of the other issues. But I do think that this has some impacts on the existing development of the area. And I'm inclined to not support this application for those reasons. I think that there's, we're starting to hit density in certain areas of this neighborhood. It is a neighborhood that is prone to wildfire, and I think that some of this burdens some of the people that live there to feel like they have to take care of residents who don't live in this area and don't understand, some of the things about egress and getting out. And it seems like it's you hit this breaking point in these communities where you are impacting the neighbors in a way that no longer feels residential to the people who live there. And so I will not be supporting this application.
Thank you, Commissioner Stevens. Commissioner Kafalis.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks to everyone who's here and the folks online and the people who provided written comment. I'm inclined to support the application. I feel like regarding the two criteria in question, I feel like the applicants have been very proactive about reaching out. The relationship building and the communication to me is very important. And I think that that helps to make sure that any potential impacts are mitigated. I think the fact that there's a specific screening process that you will implement to ensure that the folks who might rent your home would be compatible with that community, the Big Elk Meadows, and then a number of references to addressing some of the issues that were raised regarding noise and traffic and parking and trash and all the rest. So I'm inclined to support the application.
Thank you, Commissioner. This is a tough one for me because we've traveled up to that community after we celebrated the reconstruction of the world, and I kind of drove around just to kind of get a feel for the area. It's something I visit a lot when I was a child, so I I did have concerns when we started seeing short-term rental applications because it is so remote and it has a lot of wildfire risk and a lot of wildlife that frequent that area. I think, we have the applications that we're trying to get in before June 1st because there's certain distance things, but even before June 1st, we had this discretion about impacts on neighborhoods and density, and then so that's that discretion to think about impacts to the neighborhood. And so as I was sitting here listening to the conversations and looking at all the community building that you've done and the conversations you've had and trying to work and talk with those neighbors to kind of address their concerns. We still have all these comments and people calling in to talk about how close it is. And, it is, even if you're only renting out half the month. It just so happens if all 4 of those rentals have a rental that same weekend, it could feel very impactful by having a lot of folks renting that same weekend, especially in the summertime. I think it's great that, your family and you have worked together to share this home and to do this work together. But it's hard for us to think about neighborhoods that were folks who were primary owners going up for traditional for the historical use for this community was a lot of year-round residents, but a lot of residents who would go up and be they wouldn't be renting out short-term rentals. And now we have quite a few, and I know it seems it is. Like you said, 144 homes, but when you have 2 that are within the 500 feet, but even though that's not applicable, it's still close to each other. It's less than 200, it sounds like, and you have other ones that are right around the corner. I think that it is becoming a concern about density. I think that we did have quite a few people who had responded in the last month and a half that there was some support. And there was a lot more that were concerned, and it seems, they're just some of the guests, with wildlife and the fire risk, and then just even, just kind of impacting the current residents that are up there. And so I feel, I think that is my main concern for criteria 1 and 2 is the density is starting to get a little too tied up. Well, it's not tight. The density is starting to be a concern when we start having them that close together. And so I think I'm going to have to be inclined, as my colleague Commissioner Stevens, and not be in support of supporting this application. So, with that, Commissioner Stevens, would you make that motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move that the Board of County Commissioners deny the right short-term rental file number 23, Zone 3462.
Thank you, Commissioner, for that motion. Commissioner, any further deliberation or questions?
I just have a comment.
Sure.
I mean, on the matter of density, I understand the concern about the one existing short-term rental that's pretty close to the proposed short-term rental. But if you look at 4 short-term rentals out of 144 homes, that's about 2%. So that's something that I took into consideration as well.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any further deliberation? Okay. All those in favor of Commissioner Stevens' motion?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Passes 2-1. Okay. We'll move on now to our next agenda item, which would be the next short-term rental, which would be the Franklin short-term rental administrative special review. And this is file number 21-ZONE 3162. And Samantha Lasher, you'll be presenting. Please proceed.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Samantha Lasher, and I'm a Planner 2 with Larimer County. I'll be presenting on the Franklin Short-Term Rental Administrative Special Review, file number 21 Zone 3162. The subject property is located at 1436 Narcissus Drive in Estes Park, Colorado. The property is part of the High Drive Heights subdivision, and it's located approximately 0.3 miles northwest of the intersection of Moraine Avenue and Mary's Lake Road. The zoning district of the property is EVE Estes Valley Estate. The applicant is Russell Franklin, who's here with us today. The owner is the Franklin Family Trust. The property manager is Toby Manspeaker, located at 1400 David Drive in Estes Park, and Miss Manspeaker is also with us here today. And the property manager is located approximately 15 minutes from the property. The property is served by the Town of Estes Park Water District, Upper Thompson Sanitation District, and it's accessed from Narcissus Drive. The application indicates that they can provide at least 2 total off-street parking spots, and it's also within the Estes Valley Fire Protection District. The property is just over half an acre, and the applicant is requesting administrative special review approval for a small short-term rental for 3 bedrooms with a maximum occupancy of 6 guests. Per the Larimer County Land Use Code, a short-term rental is defined as a dwelling rented to transient guests for short-term lodging when not occupied by the owner or renter. A short-term rental use is classified as a low-intensity accommodation use in the Estes Valley Plan area and is permitted in the EVE Zone District following administrative special review approval. This property was subject to the Estes Valley cap and came off the wait list in 2021. This application is also subject to the pre-June 1st short-term rental regulations. A courtesy neighbor notification of the project was mailed to 122 properties within a minimum of 500 feet of the property, as well as to those within the High Drive Heights subdivision. To date, staff has received comments from 10 community members in opposition to the request. The comments are included in the staff report as well as within the printed memo given to the commissioners ahead of the hearing. The applicant has also provided a response to these community members, and that's included as attachment G in the staff report. I also want to bring your attention to the map on the screen. So the subject property is noted by the red pin, and the blue triangles are notating approved short-term rentals around the property that are subject to the cap. And then the yellow circles are indicating other approved short-term rentals that are not subject to the cap. And then, of course, the circle is the 500 separation. Because the property is located within the Estes Valley Plan area, the application was presented to the Estes Valley Planning Advisory Committee in August of this year for their recommendation. The committee did vote 5-0 for the Community Development Director to administratively approve the application, and draft minutes of this meeting are included within the report. So when reviewing a proposed administrative special review application, the director must consider the general approval criteria in Article 638D, as well as the following 5 general review criteria found in Article 643D of the Land Use Code. In addition to the general review criteria, there are additional standards for short-term rentals with 10 or fewer occupants. That full list of standards is listed here on the slide. The administrative special review process does authorize the director to approve applications in which all criteria are met and there are no issues. However, if the director determines that the application is complex or raises unique or serious impacts to the county or the surrounding area, the director does have the ability to escalate the application to the Board of County Commissioners for their decision, and in this case, the director did escalate the application. The proposed administrative special review for the Franklin Short-Term Rental Administrative Special Review meets criteria found in Article 335B2, as well as 3 out of the 5 criteria in Article 643D. However, staff does not have a conclusive determination on criteria 1 and 2 of Article 643D. Therefore, the Development Services team is not making a specific recommendation on this application and has presented all information for which the county commissioners may base their deliberation and decision. We have 2 suggested motions for the commissioners to consider. One is a motion of denial. The second motion is a motion of approval. If approved, there are 16 conditions of approval listed on this slide as well as the next one, as we see here. And then I will end with, we do have some site photos of the property as well, and I'm happy to refer back to these if needed. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha, for your presentation. Colleagues, do you have any questions for Samantha Lasher at this time? Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
Do you
I have
have-
a question.
Please proceed, sir.
And I suspect it's been addressed, but I think this address, we're looking at the, which,
This is the property located at 1436 Narcissus
so this is 316.
2.
All right. I don't have any questions. Thank you.
I have some questions, but I think I'll wait till after hearing from the applicant. So I guess at this time, we'll go ahead and offer the applicant to come up to present. You would have 10 minutes to present, and then after public comment, you would have a 5-minute rebuttal. So all you have to do is come up, identify yourself, and you would have 10 minutes to present your application.
Lord, I feel like I'm back in school. Trudy Franklin. I am the daughter-in-law of the owner of the property, Deanna Franklin. Stan Franklin has passed away, so he's no longer part of it. It's in a family trust. Their mom, my mother-in-law, is currently in California. She needs she has a live-in caregiver. She has people who have to come and help her make meals, clean the house, all that nice stuff that happens when you get older. We're trying to supplement the income, her current income with, her husband was a LA County teacher, science teacher, and made a lot of good choices. Anyway, so his retirement is not phenomenal, so we're trying to supplement that. We've worked on a reverse mortgage. We've done a lot of different things. This house is her pride and joy. She has put in her will that it cannot be sold for 10 years after her passing. We need to maintain the house. We need to maintain her quality of life. Stan, her husband, has always and her made it clear they don't want them to go into nursing homes. That's been our goal this whole time. 3 years ago, 4, we looked at each other and said, what about short-term rentals? Everybody's doing it. Let's try it. They could come out less and less. They were out for 4 months instead of 6. It was, hey, let's see what we can do. Life got in the way. COVID happened. Lots of fun and games, so we dropped the ball on that one. Then we came back to revisit it after he passed, and things were getting tighter. She makes about $3,200 a month, and her bills come out to about $5,200. She's slowly chopping away at that nest egg that they had for ready cash. So there we are. I'm not quite sure what other things I can say as far as the neighborhood. We've watched the neighborhood. We are the neighborhood. We've been there, he's been there since 1973, 7 in our house. But yeah, we can go through the whole, he's been around since he was 1 year old, and he's really old. My grandparents had a cabin in Allen's Park, and it was new when they got it, and that was in the 40s. So yeah, I'm not trying to. That's the one thing. As a resident of Estes Park for over 3 or 4 years, you start saying, "I've been coming here since I was." It doesn't matter. We're a part of the community. Fire department, coaching, bus driver for the school, substitute teacher, waitress. Kids have been in FFA. Yes, there's an FFA in Estes Park. He was the treasurer. I mean, we've been there. My son was born at Estes Park Hospital before it had the, well, it now lost that one. I mean, yeah, we've been around forever. We do not want our neighborhood to go to the rental slums. I gotta be careful, don't I? Okay, so bottom line, our idea is right now we're renting the lower floor to a young man who could not find a place to live. He's 19 years old. He works for Light and Power, which is now Power and Communications. We rent it to him for $1,400 a month. The $400 covers the insurance and the utilities. $1,000 goes back to Deanna, which does help quite a bit. That brings her monthly income up to $4,200. It also is an affordable place for this young man to live. We're all about it. We understand. I have a son, and he has a brand new baby girl with his lovely wife, and they can't find a place. They can't live in Estes Park. They're renting. We can't help them with that either. I mean, unless we rent our house and start giving them the money. That just doesn't work. As far as all the folks saying, why don't you rent it to all the people who need housing? We don't want to leave. We can't afford to leave. We're living in this house. It's a home. Oh, I'm sorry. We're back to the other one. We're on his mom's. Why don't we rent it out to people who need it? We are. We're renting it out 6 months at a time because long-term rentals tie you into problems. I've had them. Yeah, they're an issue. I like the short. If we don't like them, they're out, and that's it. Short-term rental in the summer seemed like a way to double up on the money. It was purely, let's see how we can maximize her income. She's coming out hopefully this summer. Golly day, I'm not addressing anything. They were so on the ball. I feel like such a goober. I would love to say, are there questions that I'm not answering? Obviously, I'm not a great public speaker, but I hope I'm hitting some of the targets. Oh, impact. There has been nobody in that house until we have it rented, which took a while. So as far as cars and impact on the roads, we've been paying full price for nobody there, but our plan is not to have a big rental. Property manager is Toby Manspeaker. She manages 70 units with 68 owners and 5 HOAs. She's my sister, so she has to help. She's already telling us, nope, you need to do this, you need to do this, you have to have minimum 2-night stay. She knows we're not looking to impact that community. We walk our dogs. We don't want to bite anybody. We have to drive up and down that road. We don't want to run people off the road. I'm sorry. We don't want to be run off the road. This is our town, so no. As far as rules, yes, no, zero tolerance. There is no, there will be no loud music. There will be, if there is, we're there, we're boom. When it's her house, we're literally, we can see her house from our house. I'm trying to think of more goodies. As far as the increase in traffic, you know, the neighbors, one neighbor said she'd had her guests come and going all for 3 months straight, and she was exhausted. There was another house with a travel trailer parked in front of it, and they had their friends coming and going. They were using it as a meeting place. I don't see having this short-term rental as different from everybody who actually lives there, having their friends over. golly day. As far as animal, wildlife, yeah, we've been there. My son has marks on his shoulder from a bobcat. Long story. Yes, we know that, and we will include it. The park mentioned that I have to apologize for. All of the fire mitigation, all that stuff went to his junk mail. I just found a lot of stuff in my husband's junk mail. He's not good with that, which is easy for us to address and comply. That's, golly, anything? Have I hit it? All right, I will. Ugh.
Thank you for your presentation. So colleagues, do you have any questions for the applicants? Commissioner Kofalis, I think you have to come up and ask her some questions.
I'm so sorry. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Is it Trudy?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your presentation. One question I have at the moment is, I understood that you currently have a family or a person who works in Estes Park, a lineman.
Yes, sir.
You're renting the lower floor.
Yes, he's actually a groundman. He's studying to be, you know the process. Yes, sir.
So I guess, and I understand it's a family, and it's for $1,400 a month. That's pretty affordable up in Estes Park.
Yes, sir.
Why can't you just,
Keep going with that?
Keep going with that, and if you're suggesting that in 6 months that person needs to be out, then that suggests that that person and his family might be displaced. And couldn't is it your mother-in-law, Deanna?
Deanna, yes. Can she stay on the upper level?
Well, that's my question, yes.
No, I totally understand. And like I said, I got flustered. This is not my forte. When he came in, he needed a place. Yeah, friends, my son works for Power and Communication. Yeah, so when he came in, full disclosure, which is how I go, and I told him it's only for 6 months at this point because we do not know what this property is slated for. Now, we also don't know him. He's 19. Like I said, I'm going to go about 6 months at a time. Now, as far as Deanna coming, yes, she can stay on the second floor, but we don't have laundry facilities on the second floor, and that is a very important part of her life right now. So that is something we can make it work. You know, we can ask him, is it all right if we come down and use the washer dryer? And as far as kicking him out, that's not the plan. We're not going to kick him out. If things work out, and this is the truth, we are trying to get this short-term rental license lined up if we need it, if we can use it, we're trying to maximize Stan's options. If this kid works out and he's a good guy, by golly, I'm not kicking anybody to the curb that I know is a good bet. But I also want to make sure Deanna has her best options, and that's what has been our back and forth this whole time is, do we even want to fight for this? Well, we got to fight for her options. And that's basically what I'm trying to do. Yes, we can rent that house, and in Estes Park, we could rent it for $3,200 a month. Easy, because it's got an upstairs as well. So you've got 3 levels. You've got quite a bit of room. We could, but that's ugly. To me, that's ugly. That's not what we're about, and that's not what we're looking for. We're just supplementing, and that's what we're after. Did that help? Or is that more, I talk too much and confuse my husband. Welcome to Russ's world.
I appreciate your public speaking, because I think you come across as a real person and trying to do best for your family. So I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. And I stay, right?
Probably should. Mr. Stevens, do you have some questions?
No, I don't have any right now. Thank you.
So I'd like to ask a question about, you said things went into the junk mail, so you haven't really addressed some of the things. So, I mean, that's a concern because...
It's a huge concern, yes, ma'am. And that was a fight.
Sounds like a lot of things are fights.
No, that was a fight with my husband.
Ah.
No, that, no, we haven't fought. And that's another thing that I did want to talk, anyway. No, agreed. The point of communication with, how to work your email, it possibly will put somebody else as point. That would be me, because I look a little bit deeper than he does. Both properties have been inspected for, safety, life safety, thank you. Life safety issues, we've had, the fire department come out. We have other people in that area that have talked to us and told us what to move. And we actually ended up moving and cleaning out most of what the fire mitigation did on our own. I'm trying to think of the other issues that were addressed. The increased traffic, the fire mitigation, that's not a problem. And I believe everything else, we've worked really hard to come into compliance. We've had a couple, we need to redo the owner's manual, but we've had such a, not like, oh, yeah, let's get this done. It's more like, well, maybe you can. And every time when we thought we'd cleared it with the last meeting, and then we found out, no, we have to go another step, we kind of said, let's just wait and see what we have to do before we do anything else. Did that answer it, or did I ramble?
No, I think you've addressed it. And so my next question is, there was some concerns from the National Park Service because you are so
Yes.
close to the entry, and so this was going to be a condition of approval. What are your thoughts on that? And my second question, in addition to that, is that because it is so close, and folks think they can just kind of walk in and, not maybe pay the park fee and stuff. What's your thoughts on that?
That's, and you see it quite a bit. High Drive goes right up to the back road into the park, and into employee housing. That is obviously in the owner's manual, and like my sister says, they don't read it. And I'm like, I know, but if you put it on the doors, you're going out, information, how to get into the park, and do your best. We're not looking to rent like a hotel, though. That's not our, that's not who we're after. We've got friends, there's neighbors say, if you guys are renting, we have our family coming up for Thanksgiving. Can we use your house? Nope, it's not ready. It hasn't been ready for a long time. There's a young lady at the hospital. She needs a place to stay for her family when they come into town. Graduation. Are you guys ready to rent yet? Nope, we can't rent yet. It's mostly, that's where we've been like, yeah, we could do this. We can do it a couple times. We can get this rented for a little extra. So, having notes everywhere, having it in the owner's manual, having it posted, like I said, she knows, and she's got it down pat of the speech. Can you give the speech now, Toby? About bears? Oh. Anyway, yes, ma'am. And we've lived here. We know it. We can relate it. As far as the park goes, like I said, his dad was a naturalist for a long time. He stepped on a squirrel during a nature talk. So I guess that's not appropriate. Anyway, yes, we know the animals, and we would be more than happy to even go up. We can walk up to the office and ask them what they suggest.
Thank you for that. I think, so I do see a lot of comments from your neighbors that, in opposition.
I did not know we were allowed to talk to them about it.
I think there was a letter that you could, I'm trying to make sure, because there's trying to make sure I got the right between the two. And I think there was a letter to the commissioners in response to all the applications. That's on page 153. It sounds like quite a bit of controversy in the neighborhood. I think it's from your Mr. Franklin, and talking about the expenses you've done, and talking about people threatening you.
Well, they didn't threaten us. They just said, if you get it, we'll call the sheriff 3 times and you're out.
Yeah, it just said we have been threatened, no promise, by the neighbor northeast of us.
And so, I think this letter was, to address some of the, concerns of the neighbors. And so I'm wondering, and then it talked about, ridiculous red tape and judging. And so I'm just curious, do you, it seems like you have been very frustrated with the process. And so I'm curious about that because we have these rules and regulations for reasons. And so it feels.
That's why we're doing the process, because we want to do it above board and legally, that's how we do. That's just who we are. I think as far as the letter and the tenor of the letter, is that a good way to put it? Probably came out after receiving or reading a couple of the letters that were the letters that we received were not in very good tenor either. So it was almost a, I think he was frustrated. I think we have reached out and done so much that it didn't feel, golly day, I don't know how to say it right. As far as, okay, we'll just go with the community or the road, or the neighborhood. When we've done so much to try to do for that neighborhood, example, the fire, East Troublesome Fire came. He's on the fire department, volunteer. He was there. And when they cut all the gas and all the power to all the houses, he got his hold of as many property owners as we had names for, met the gas company, XL. They gave away free space heaters. They got the power back on, but they couldn't turn the gas on until the property owner was there, probably too much information. So he got under these people's houses and put the heaters in the houses. People go into the ditch. We're the first ones there digging out people out of the ditch. We've always been very accessible and we try to help. And it's hard when folks that you don't know judge you for something they don't understand. So I think that was probably where that went. We're trying to do something not in a greedy revolving door kind of way. We're doing something that might help us pay a car payment. I mean, we're not looking for big bucks here. I know there's 2 properties, but truly it was just, oh, we should try that too. It's not, yeah.
I appreciate your candor. Thank you.
Sure.
I think that's all I have for right now. Colleagues, do you have any other further questions? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. So, without any further questions, I'm assuming that you're ready for deliberation?
Public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry, public comment. It's been a long night. So, thank you for that. We'll go ahead and open for public comment. So I'll open it to anyone in the room who'd like to do public comment. Okay, so let's go online. Jenny, could you let me know if anyone is online for public comment?
Madam Chair, we have 0 attendees.
Okay, so I will now close public comment. So there is no need for a rebuttal. So I'm sure Ms. Franklin is grateful that she doesn't have to come up and speak for another 5 minutes. So thank you for your comments. So with that, colleagues, there's been no public comment. We have lots of emails. So now, do we have any other questions for the applicant or staff? Mr. Kafalis.
Yeah. I'm wondering if staff can, or I suppose that would be Samantha. Any updates? I'm looking at the packet, and for example, there are comments from the building department regarding an STR, a building permit for an STR conversion that was apparently the applicants failed the life safety inspection on July 1st of 2022. It was extended and nothing seems to have, well, it hasn't passed. It was given another extension to December. Could you speak to that, please, Samantha?
Sure, and I'll let the property owners fill in any details I miss, but yes, I did check in with the building division before coming to the hearing, and it sounds like they have now passed the life safety inspection, and the final step is waiting on the planning decision. And if it is approved at that point, they could finalize the life safety permit. So all of the requirements for the life safety inspection, from what I can tell, have been met at this point.
I have another question. Thank you. Another item that was in our packet was from the Estes Valley Fire Protection District, and there were a number of areas regarding wildfire mitigation or things that need to be done up there, and it seemed like they were, unless I missed something, which is quite possible, they're still areas of non-compliance. Can you provide an update of that, please?
Of course. Commissioner, could you clarify whether you're referring to the Emergency Services Unit comments for the wildfire inspection or the Estes Valley Fire Protection District?
Well, I'm referring to the Estes Valley Fire Protection District. However, I would like to know if the folks have complied with our emergency services, our home ignition zone inspections as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So first, with regards to the Estes Valley Fire Protection District, I also did follow up with Stacy Sutherland, who works for the district, and she said the only items left for the owners to do is to put up sufficient address identification. That has been made a condition of approval. In addition, I also followed up with Raina Eshelman with the Emergency Services Unit, and she did provide an update. So the property is still in pass pending status, meaning they did have a wildfire inspection. They just need to provide Raina with follow-up photos showing compliance, and that's also been made a condition of approval.
Thank you.
Commissioner Stevens, do you have any comments or questions?
No, I don't.
Thank you. Commissioner Kafalis, do you have further questions? Okay. And I think I got most of my questions answered. Got them kind of out there. Okay, so I was just looking at my Estes Valley Planning Advisory Committee. Okay, so colleagues, are we ready for a deliberation at this time? I'll start with you, Commissioner Kafalis.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Once again, I struggle with these things, and in this case, I can certainly empathize with trying to address family needs and all of that, and at the same time, I'm seeing that the property that is under consideration. Well, I'm seeing the current situation there, and I look at the map of this neighborhood regarding the number of short-term rentals in the neighborhood that are, certainly a number of them are outside the 500-foot radius, but we're not really considering that at this time. I mean, there's quite a number of STRs in this neighborhood, and I think that adding this one would further undermine, what folks are attempting to preserve there, and therefore, I think it would have more than a minimal impact regarding criterion 1. And while I appreciate that some of these things have been taken care of, life safety inspections, wildfire mitigation, pending inspection, follow-up information, and all of that. I guess I do have a concern about the impact, the cumulative impact that this particular STR would add to this area, this community, and so I'm not able to support this application.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Stevens.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Commissioner Kafalis. I appreciate the concern, the situation, and yet, in looking at the map of density, it just seems like this neighborhood is overwhelmed with short-term rentals. And so I think that does have an impact on the existing community. And it's just almost impossible to mitigate for that. So because I don't believe that this application meets criteria number one, I won't be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Stevens. I appreciate the applicants being here today, and I appreciate that they're members of the community, and thank you for their service with the Estes Park Fire and the things they do for the community. I do think I agree with my colleagues that this area has quite a few short-term rentals. And I think there's still a lot of things that needed to be done for fire mitigation that I know kind of got lost in the inbox, but there's still some extra concerns with the National Park Service. And then I looked back at the Estes Valley Planning Commission, and it was kind of a split vote. And so I was trying to read through some of those minutes. Oh, the 5-0. Okay, I thought it was a 3-2.
Can staff confirm with the Estes Park?
Was it the 3-2 or it was the other one?
This one was the 5-0.
Oh, okay. So I guess I've got that confused. It's because I think it's in, because they're all in the same one. Okay, I see. I agree. Thank you for that. So I think, so I won't apply that. I think also, even though we don't have the 500 foot, we still have the criteria one about minimal impacts and looking at the density with density and neighborhood compatibility. And I believe this for criteria one and criteria two, I'm not sure these have met those criteria to mitigate that. And so I will be joining my colleagues. So I'll ask Commissioner Kafalis to make that motion, please.
I move that the Board of County Commissioners deny the Franklin Short-Term Rental Administrative Special Review, file number 21-Zone 3162.
Thank you, Commissioner, for that motion. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of that motion? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes 3-0. Okay, let's move on to the third and final item for this evening, and that is the so the next and third and final item is the Franklin second short-term rental administrative special review, file number 21-CONE 3163. And so we'll have Samantha Lasher present that as well again. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. So yes, I will be presenting on the Franklin second short-term rental administrative special review, file number 21 Zone 3163. The subject property is located at 732 Windy Rose Drive. It was formerly known as 732 Columbine Drive, but was recently readdressed. It's also located in Estes Park, and for reference, this property is located approximately 800 feet west of the Narcissus Drive property. This property is also part of the High Drive Heights subdivision and is located approximately 0.4 miles northwest of the intersection of Moraine Avenue and Marys Lake Road. It is also zoned EVE Estes Valley Estate. The applicant is also Russell Franklin, and the owners are Russell and Trudy Franklin. Again, the zone district is Estes Valley Estate. And I forgot to put on here, the property manager for this property is also Toby Manspeaker, located at 1400 David Drive in Estes Park, which again is approximately 15 minutes from the property. The property is served by the Town of Estes Park Water District as well as Upper Thompson Sanitation. The property is accessed from Windy Rose Drive, and the application indicates that at least 2 total off-street parking spots can be provided. The property is also within the Estes Valley Fire Protection District. This property is about half an acre, and the applicant requests administrative special review approval for a small short-term rental located in the existing single-family residence for 3-bedroom and a maximum occupancy of 6 guests. Per the Larimer County Land Use Code, a short-term rental is defined as a dwelling rented to transient guests for short-term lodging when not occupied by the owner or renter. Again, a short-term rental use is classified as a low-intensity accommodation use in the Estes Valley and is permitted in this zone district following administrative special review approval. This property was also subject to the Estes Valley cap and came off the wait list at the same time as the previous application. This application is also subject to the pre-June 1st short-term rental regulations. A courtesy neighbor notification of this project was mailed to exactly 93 properties within a minimum of 500 feet and to those within the High Drive Heights subdivision. To date, staff has received comments from a total of 11 community members in opposition to the request. The comments can be found in the staff report as attachment F and also within the printed memo. And the applicant's response to these community members are also included as attachment G. Again, I also included a map of surrounding approved short-term rentals. So the subject property is noted by the red pin. And again, the blue triangles represent approved short-term rentals that are subject to the Estes Valley cap. And the yellow circles represent approved short-term rentals not subject to the Estes Valley cap. This application was also presented to the Estes Valley Planning Advisory Committee on August 17th for their recommendation. The committee did vote 3-2 for the Community Development Director to administratively approve the application. In reviewing a proposed administrative special review application, the director shall consider the general approval criteria found in Article 638D of the Land Use Code, as well as the following 5 general criteria found in Article 643D. On the slide, again, are all of the standards that apply to short-term rentals with 10 or fewer occupants. The administrative special review process does authorize the director to approve applications in which all criteria have been met and there are no issues. However, if there are unusually complex or potentially serious impacts to the county or the surrounding areas with an application, the director can escalate an application to the Board of County Commissioners for their decision. The proposed administrative special review for the Franklin Second Short-Term Rental Administrative Special Review does meet the criteria in Article 335B2, meets 3 out of the 5 criteria in Article 643D, and staff does not have a conclusive determination on criteria 1 and 2 of Article 643D. Therefore, the Development Services team is not making a specific recommendation on this application and has presented all information by which the County Commissioners can make their decision. We also have 2 suggested motions. One motion is that of denial. We also have a second suggested motion, a motion of approval, again with 16 conditions of approval. Lastly, I also have site photos for this property as well. I do have additional ones if the commissioners would like to view those. And with that, I will take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, Samantha. Colleagues, any questions for Ms. Slasher at this time? I don't have any at this time, so we'll go ahead and invite the applicant up to do a presentation on this application. You'd have 10 minutes as the other times, and then we would open it for public comment or any questions from the commissioners.
I'm getting my steps in. Same thing. I feel like we're wasting your time right now. This is our family home. Lots of pictures in there. We're not looking to rent it to college parties or anything like that. We're just looking for supplement to add to our retirement. As far as the density of the short-term rentals in that area, we're less than a mile from Rocky Mountain National Park. The Rocky Mountain National Park is the reason Estes Park exists. I've been to, well, all my kids gone through the school, through Stanley, through all the ranches, and I can't bring them up. I'm sorry. I apologize. My brain's gone. The park is a tourist destination, and that is what this town is. There's anybody who has moved there came because they were tourists there. You came up, you grew up going and visiting this park. Visiting, we live there. All these other nice rentals, short-term rentals, are folks who are out of town, who one's Missouri, couple of Texas, all those. We're actually the reason I feel like short-term rentals were started. We're hometown. This is our home. You want to borrow it for a couple weeks? Great. That's what we were looking for. Having so many short-term rentals less than a mile from the park seems like a kind of a no kidding. I mean, where do people want to stay? That's where they want to be. If they can go for a hike, there it is. Get on the bus. Speaking of the bus driver, he drove all the hiker shuttles this summer. There's a campground, I don't know, maybe a quarter mile. I'm bad with distance from our house. There's many restaurants right down the road. We are a tourist neighborhood. If you're trying to tell me that this neighborhood is residential only, that is not true. There are no families left. We have no children. Everybody who has bought the properties has paid over $800,000 to $900,000, or they were gifted. Ours was gifted from his father. He made a good financial decision back in the day. It's not possible to make this a family neighborhood again. It's not possible to make this anything but what it is. The people who live there are retirees. When they go, they'll sell, or their estates will sell, or they'll sit empty like Deanna's. Anyway, that's what I'm saying. It's too high priced to bring in families. The people who are living there now have retired, looking for a quiet neighborhood. They should have stayed there first. You hear the traffic from the park nonstop. If they want a quiet neighborhood, there's Allen's Park. There's Drake. There's a lot of other options. This isn't one of them. You don't go to less than a mile from the park and look for a quiet little residential retirement place. I'm sorry, but that is their negligence on their research. You can tell I'm getting tired, Nancy. I apologize. As far as fire mitigation, we've addressed all the problems in the report that we received just today. We had already addressed them. We don't have current pictures. We can get those on the fly. Let's see what else. We do have a property manager who's really good and has been doing it for a long time. We have support of, a big family group that can come up and help with the property and management. I'm toast. Do you want me to go sit down, or I'll close? Is that better?
Ms. Franklin, this is your chance for your time to present your application to the Board of County Commissioners. So
understood, but I feel like the application is not, it's a dead in the water. And I'm sure you can understand, being on that side, why I feel like that. I feel like I'm just running my mouth for no reason. So I apologize. That is our thing. And you trying to respect and hold on to the integrity of the neighborhood as a residential community, to me, seems not a very good fighting point, in my opinion, because that is not what Estes Park is. And to not understand the essence of that town means you haven't lived there. Everybody's a tourist. Everybody who has bought a home at one time found it because they visited the park, tourism. That's what it is. My grandmother worked, do you even know Charles Eagle Plume? She called him Charlie. That's how long we've been doing this. So it's the fact that somebody from Missouri can do what we're trying to do on a full-time basis. We're just looking for a couple months a year. Not even months, what am I saying? Did you see my plants? We have a garden. Yeah, it's not something that I want to just abandon and give over to renters. You're treating it like it's like I'm trying to increase the road traffic. That's not what we're looking for. We're just looking to do something legally, to do something above board. And unfortunately, like he said, you've made criminals out of non-criminals, and that's really sad. People are going and doing short-term rentals or renting their properties without going through the right, and you can't tell me they're not, without going through the right avenue. We're not trying to do that. We want to be above board. And I apologize to waste your time. Any questions, I guess?
Thank you, Ms. Franklin. We're not trying to waste your time either. We're just trying to give you the time you would like to have to present your application. So, did you have any other things you wanted to say about your application? Okay.
You, Russell? No, we're good.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and open this up for public comment, unless my colleagues have questions.
Do I sit or stand?
Well, Commissioner Kafals has a question before we go to public comment.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Trudy. I hope I'm not wasting your time. I'm just curious, in reviewing the notes or the minutes from the Estes Valley Planning Advisory Committee meeting and the discussion about this this application, where I think on this one they voted 3-2 in support.
Mm-hmm.
There's a statement that you may have stated that you're not planning on renting it right away as an STR, and you'd like to try to make it available to traveling nurses and that sort of thing. So
Absolutely. Not our property. The other one is more available to traveling nurses and that because nobody's up there right now. But our property would be more for because we live there. So I wouldn't say ours. Maybe if they were I don't know how long they're in town, that kind of thing. But yeah, we'd be up to that. Absolutely. That's all we do. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go ahead. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Ms. Franklin. So I think we'll go ahead and open it up for public comment. So if you don't mind, we'll go ahead and have you seat so we can follow the process. We'll have this open for public comment. So I'll just ask just to follow procedure. Is there anyone in the room who would like to make public comment? Okay, so Jenny, we'll go online. Is there anybody online that would like to?
Madam Chair, we have no attendees online.
Okay, so no one's indicated online that they'd like to do public comment, so I will now close public comment. So there's no need for rebuttal. Colleagues, do you have any more questions for Ms. Franklin or staff? Okay, so I guess we'll start with deliberation. Are you ready for deliberation, Ms. Commissioner Kafals? Did you have other questions?
I do not have any other questions. I'll make my closing comments or my deliberation. Once again, I'm sorry I can't support this. I think that based on the issue of neighborhood compatibility, and it would just undermine people living there. And I certainly don't wish to dismiss your comment about that close to Rocky Mountain National Park. This is all for tourists. I think when people may have moved in there, it might have looked a lot different than it does now with regard to the number of short-term rentals. And so I'm not going to belabor it. I'm sorry it didn't go your way. I think you have good intentions, but that doesn't help your cause. So I won't support this application.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Stevens.
Yeah, I won't support the application either. And it's not about making anyone into criminals. Certainly if there's short-term rentals operating that don't have a license, we're happy to follow up on those. I think that we do have to listen to neighbors, and we do have to pay attention to the density. And, I feel like there's probably some applications around this area that maybe shouldn't have been approved earlier that were, just because I think that density is extremely high in these neighborhoods. And we have to balance the needs of people to do something with their own property with, the neighborhood concerns. And, the neighborhood concerns do go to quality of life. I don't think it meets, this application meets review criteria number one. And we have lots of neighbors who were, vehemently opposed to it, saying, you do obviously have the right to rent either one of these places out full-time. But I think that with the density of short-term rentals in this area, this neighborhood is quickly losing its character. And I have to vote in favor of protecting some of the neighborhood rights and the neighborhood quality of life. So I won't be supporting this either.
Thank you, Commissioners. And so again, I appreciate the applicants and their desire to be on the waiting list and to come forward and want to do this. Unfortunately, some of these neighborhoods, the density was approved before we became on commissioners, and so that density is, especially if it's that close to the park and stuff, it's quite. It's got a lot of short-term rentals, and so I don't feel this has met criteria 1 or 2. I think adding this to an already dense neighborhood would be just furthering the feel of the neighbors. We heard from quite a few neighbors who were pretty animate about the neighborhood, and so and these were going all the way back, and even just to just recently, I think we received one just in this new application, this new comment. So I won't belabor this. I'm just going to agree with my colleagues about not meeting criteria 1 or 2, and so I'll ask Commissioner Stevens to make that motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Board of County Commissioners deny the Franklin Second Short-Term Rental Administrative Special Review File Number 21, Zone 3163.
Thank you for that motion. Any further? Commissioner Kafalis.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to offer that in Estes Park, it's not directly related to this application, but in Estes Park, the voters approved an additional lodging tax, and that money goes for housing and child care. And I know some of the discussions that have been, that we've had is, are there proper ways to provide incentives for folks who may want to do more long-term rentals, affordable rentals, like you're doing. So I would extend, I'm more than happy to help in that manner, or work with staff to figure out, have they determined, are there any financial incentives or other incentives to try to incentivize, homeowners. So that's, I just wanted to say that, and I'm happy to do my best to help and maybe work with Jenny or someone to see what we could find out, if there's actually anything out there that might, make it easier for you to provide those 6-month rentals or perhaps longer term. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think they're still in discussion with that. With that, we just had that visit Estes Park plan. So I think that would be certainly something that would be a worthwhile discussion with that group. So, with that, for any further deliberation or discussion, all those in favor of Commissioner Stevens' motion?
Aye.
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 Okay, passes 3-0. Thank you. And so with no further items on our discussion, we are at 8:34 adjourned. Thank you.